Welcome to First Friday Healthy Happy Hour. I'm Angela Berg with Cure for the Kids Foundation, and I'm here today with Emily Rawlings from Dynamic Music Therapy. She is a music therapist who has joined us today to talk about music therapy and all that it offers. I think it has amazing benefits that you'll be surprised to find out about, how it can help so many of our kids and families. And so I'm so appreciative of you being here today. You are hearing impaired on your right side, and it worked better for us to be on this side.
Correct.
So we're going to bring some awareness to the fact that that's pretty special that you chose to be in music therapy when sound is something that's pretty special to you.
It is.
Having an impairment with processing sound, even with your hearing impairment. So share a little bit about that and how that brought your interest into getting into sound therapy.
Music therapy is a little different than sound therapy.
Oh, music therapy.
But just, yeah. I was born with a hearing impairment. It's actually on both sides. It's a little better on this side than this side. This side is shot. But I grew up in a musical family, and it was just really important to me to be part of that music crowd, even though I had the hearing impairment, and just was really a great opportunity to be able to be part of my family dynamic in that way. I also don't have a thumb on my left hand, and so I learned to play the piano just like everybody else because I wanted to learn to play the piano. And I think that actually shaped how I perceive disability, and it shaped how I perceive that we can accomplish anything despite the challenges that we have in front of us.
Awesome. So talk a little bit about music therapy and how it kind of applies to in a therapeutic way. In so many ways, from I've seen it mental health, I've seen it in physical health when people are just trying to recover from some really catastrophic illnesses. So I'm sure you've seen that as well. Can you just share with us some of those benefits and how music therapy interplays in those and those benefits?
Sure, yeah, like you said, there's so many different settings that you can have that music therapy in. There are music therapists in hospitals, hospice agencies, mental health clinics, schools, just so many different areas. Personally, I have a private agency, and we focus our work with people with disabilities, but we also work at memory care units with adult daycare centers and a hospice agency and other areas as well. But it's wonderful when you think about how music can help in that breadth of things, and there are some niches with the different people that work in those different populations, but I can work on different areas of domain through the music. I can work on speech skills and communication. I can work on social and communication skills and behavior and emotion management. I can work on physical and motor skills, and the music is the vehicle, the tool. It's very naturally motivating. It follows different neurological pathways than standard speech. There's so many different reasons why music works in those ways. But when we have the ability to kind of tunnel the experiences for a specific way, I think it's just great.
I think that probably in the days of social media, so many of us have probably seen examples even of ways where, like in dementia patients, there are times even when they've lost their verbal ability, and something like music therapy has even been able to help them neurologically be able to get verbal skills back, in that a familiar song has been able to bring verbal skills back as they're able to sing the lyric. Have you seen that kind of experience?
Oh, definitely. I see that all the time, and just being able to like you said, bring in those familiar songs, these songs that we have been hearing our entire lives, probably before we started to speak, when our moms were singing lullabies and things like that to us. We are just so familiar with that. Where, when we're talking and communicating, there's like a bazillion words in the language, and that's not it's so much to draw from. But with songs, it's very rhythmic, it's very patterned, it's very repetitive. We've heard the same thing over and over. And so it helps us to be able to draw from that.
When they're teaching music therapy and when students are going through and learning music therapy, is there some talk about the vibration level and how that's neurologically processed? And so are there some types of music that are thought to be better for different things that that people might be dealing with?
So it probably depends on the institution where you learned music therapy. That really wasn't a huge part of our training. Like there was, some mention there are some things that kind of affect that. But what studies have really shown is the music that works is the music that you like.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's what you resonate with. That's what's going to really help you. So if you've got someone in hospice that wants to listen to death metal, then that's what you want to do.
And you let them do death metal.
Right?
Okay. I think I have attended a seminar or two where probably I've heard music therapists talk about sometimes having difficult cases in the hospital with children who people were having a really hard time feeling like they were able to reach them or help them. And it took a few tries, but once they made the connection and found the right thing, and sometimes it can be a different instrument or something that somebody really didn't think of, didn't think would be your first thing to think of. Once it clicked, and the whole demeanor of the child changes, and it can be pretty magical. I wanted to talk about another way that I think that music therapy can be really helpful is in children dealing with chronic painful issues. So many of our kids here in the clinic are dealing with chronic issues, sometimes long-term effects from chemotherapy agents, sometimes chronic diseases that are going to be painful for their whole life, neuropathic pain kind of issues that are going to be long-standing, and we know that being able to do some good distraction and some good neurologically calming and connecting with your breath helps. Can you talk about that a little bit with music therapy and how that kind of helps people connect with their breathing and changing their dynamic that way?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of different elements that come into play that makes this work. So if you think about the breathing specifically, especially if you're listening to music that calms you and relaxes you, and like we mentioned, it's not necessarily the same music for each person. Whatever you resonate with, if that music calms you and relaxes you, then your breathing is going to start to regulate. And when your breathing is regulated, then a lot of other health is much better, right? And then also from another point, your pain receptor that's in your body, it not just emotionally distracted, but physically, if you are experiencing something else other than the pain, emotionally, then it kind of detracts from that pain, right? Another element of that is the emotional component, and so if you are really connected to the music, then that will alter your emotion state.
Sure.
And that's what I love about music from a therapeutic standpoint, because like you said earlier, you can really get in and connect with someone right away because of that music experience, and it just really establishes a positive relationship between the therapist and the client. But even if the therapist is not present and you're just using music in your own life, the music makes that connection for you, and it can help you really just process some of those difficult emotions that come along with the chronic pain.
Right. I'm so glad you brought up that point. I think sometimes people think that music therapy is not something that's very readily available to them. I think I had shared with you when I reached out to you that I was very excited to know that there was actual music therapists available in our community, so I'm excited to know that. But I think that people often underestimate just simply using music can be helpful as well. And I think that a lot of meditation, even meditation apps and things use music and different sound, and I think a lot of people think that it's kind of woo-woo because of that, but even if we just take ourselves through meditation to whatever music we like, meditation doesn't have to necessarily be to nature sounds or someone speaking to you. You can be speaking to your own self in your mind and listening to the kind of music that you like, but meditation and music go really well together like that.
Definitely.
Very nice, very nice. Anything else that you think that we need to make sure people understand and know about music therapy?
Wow, a lot. I think that for purposes of this conversation, I think that's a really good consensus of what music can do for a person. I mean, we just barely scratched the surface,
Sure.
really, but just an understanding that music is emotionally powerful as well as physically powerful, and that can be channeled. If you know how to channel it properly, then that can really be channeled to benefit your life very much.
Right, right. Do you find that music therapy is something that at this point is still an insurance covered benefit, or something that we're still fighting for?
It is something we are still fighting for. You know, a lot of there are some music therapists that have been successful in being able to access insurance funds and get that benefited from, but it's few and far between. The challenge is kind of like a circular problem, because we're such a growing field that
Sure.
we don't have the funding necessary to provide the research.
Sure.
They want the research, and we know as music therapists it works. We see it every day.
Sure.
Right? And we just don't have enough research to show it, because we don't have the funds to show it, because people want the research to provide the funds.
Sure, sure. That circular problem. It's along with so many of the other problems I think that we talk about regularly. Integrative therapies we know works, and they're that preventative and supplementary care that can make everything else much more cost effective and make much more comfortable our healthcare journey, and we just have to continue that fight to get insurance to understand the importance of it.
Right.
So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your taking the time and having the opportunity. It's so nice to know that there is real music therapy available here, and that people can access it. And again, thanks so much for coming and sharing, and we look forward to having you on again and being able to dig a little deeper and get more information about music therapy in the future. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll talk a little more about how music therapy and sound and vibration works with the essential oils. We'll circle back around again with that with Amy in just a few. Don't go anywhere. All right, thanks for staying with us. Wasn't that a great session about music therapy?
Loved it.
So Amy has joined us, and we want to talk a little bit, just to circle back around about frequencies with oils. But music therapy goes so well with sleep. We're really going to focus on sleep. But let's just talk for a couple minutes about frequencies and some of those high frequency oils that we want to remind everybody about, and how you can't be sad in a rose garden.
That's right. That's my favorite. Is rose is the highest frequency oil. We respond to frequencies. Everything around us has energy and frequencies. The leaves rustling, they call it forest bathing when you go walking through a forest, which is kind of difficult here in Las Vegas.
Right.
So here you have to kind of create your own grounding in Mother Earth, so to speak, and go out in nature, go to Red Rock, go to Mount Charleston. It really is healing because of the vibrations of the forest.
Right.
And roses, the reason why roses became the flower of love is because they have such a high vibration that it makes you feel good. And so the higher the vibration, the better you feel. It's like positive thoughts have a high vibration. Negative thoughts have a low vibration, so they make you feel yucky. So we want to try to keep things at a very high vibration. They say raise your vibration, and people think it's kind of woo-woo or hippie, but there's real scientific studies behind oils and their frequencies. Frankincense, a lot of times people think of frankincense as very healing. It's a very high vibration oil. So you can look at all the different vibrations and see why they work and how they work. So we can do a whole session another time about the frequencies, and we'll just kind of go through the different frequencies. But with that being said, lavender is another great calming high frequency oil. So if you've ever had a baby, right, you've heard about put lavender, everything's like lavender scented for babies.
Right. Yes, it sure is. The lavender baby bath, the lavender shampoos.
And that's because it's calming. So if you have a baby or a child or yourself who's having trouble with sleep, lavender helps. You can put lavender with coconut oil, fractionated coconut oil, or any other carrier oil, and rub it on your baby's feet. If you've ever done any sort of a foot massage with lavender, or even rubbed it on your child's back, on their spine, it just knocks them right out. Like they're sound asleep. And even for me, this oil right here, this lavender, was actually leaking a little bit, and I feel myself relaxing. Like, oh, it smells so good.
Yeah, if you suddenly start hearing snoring, it could be any of us here in the room. It's very lavender right now.
So when your child is going through treatment, or you as a mother, you have that anxious feeling because you're worried, which, by the way, side note, worry means that you're focusing on your nightmare instead of your dream. Okay,
So true.
So just remember that. And again, I am a mom who's been there. My son went through his own journey, and thankfully he's doing well today. But focus on the dream, not the nightmare, and that alone will help you sleep.
Yes.
But if your child has trouble sleeping, if you have trouble sleeping, and I know from experience, you don't sleep through the journey. Like, you don't get to sleep because your child is sick, because you have to rush to the ER, because you're worried. You struggle to sleep. So what I'm going to share with you today is just some things talking about music therapy and frequencies. Number one, you want to put on some nice calming music. When we were inpatient in the hospital, everybody knew where James' room was because he had music and oil. Like, it was just calm. It was a calm space. We tried to take our Zen to the hospital. Not an easy thing to do. So you want to have nice calming music, probably not the heavy metal stuff that some people find calming. Probably not that kind of music, but
luckily I don't think there's very many people who are calmed by that, but
yes. And there are some really great kids meditation music out there that you can play for your
We
children.
talked about that yesterday. I had to message you. I was trying to help somebody in the clinic, and I was like, what is the dragon? It's Seda.
S-A-D-A. You can look it up, and it's great meditations, and I even enjoy listening to it for calming. But you do that, and when your child is having a good, healthy time, so to speak, when you're kind of on a break, that's when you really need to catch up on your sleep. When a baby's born, they say sleep when the baby sleeps.
Yes.
Well, when you're going through a journey with your child, you sleep when they feel good. Okay, so make sure when your child feels good, take care of yourself, because there are those days you won't get that opportunity.
Right.
And right here I have a couple of oils, a Serenity oil in a capsule from doTERRA, and Adaptive. Adaptive is very calming. They say supposedly Adaptive doesn't make you sleep, it just kind of calms your energy. It puts me right out. Like I can't stay awake when I take Adaptive. I take 1 capsule of Adaptive and 1 capsule of Serenity, and I sleep so soundly. And it's been proven by my Fitbit. And my sleep score actually raises when I take these, and it lowers when I don't. And so sleep is the foundation.
Sleep is the foundation of so many things. As we go forward in 2020, there will be lots of focus. I think we're going to bring in lots of stuff as we're focusing more on palliative development and self-care. We're going to talk a lot about mind-body connection and mental health care. And sleep is the foundation of our entire overall physical and mental health care. And it helps. You can't manage chronic pain without good sleep. You can't manage acute pain without good sleep. You can't manage chronic illness without good sleep. You can't manage chronic disease without good sleep. So there's so many things that sleep affects that. It is the foundation. It's like building a house. If you don't have good blocks of built on sleep, the house that you're building is going to fall.
That's right. I mean, one of the best actions you can do for your child is to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And sleeping and actively thinking is going to help. And again, in 2020, through the year here, we're going to just go into all different kinds of stuff. But the Adaptive and Serenity also comes in an oil. And I encourage you to use it on your child.
Yeah.
It's very safe to use on your child and help them relax, because the trauma that they go through, even just getting poked. I don't like to get poked. And so you want to try to keep your child calm. And you can do this even just before you come to the clinic or before you go to the hospital. Just start to keep them nice and at peace. It makes a big difference.
Yes, indeedy. Indeedy. I have started to use the Adaptive. I haven't had the gels, but I do have the Adaptive roller in the clinic. So I haven't had the sleep effect, but I have had the calming effect. And there are even a couple of staff members who come and say, "Do you have that?" They think it smells like bubble gum.
Yeah, it does.
Do you have the bubble gum? Do you have the bubble gum roller with you today?
It has sweet gum in it, which
So
is
they want. Yeah.
So
they
good.
like that it has that calming effect when it gets, you all know it gets a little crazy in the clinic sometimes.
Yes. And if it smells like bubble gum, then your kids will like it too, and it calms them at the same time. Put a little on the back of their neck, or just let them smell it. And then I also have the copaiba, which is also very calming and just affects your central nervous system, just to kind of bring things down a notch so that you can clearly think and make the best decisions for yourself and your child. Because when you have lack of sleep, it's hard to make good decisions. And
Indeed.
On what you eat, for one.
On anything.
On anything. I mean, it just all boils together. And so you want to get that good solid sleep.
Indeed. So that being said, we're all calm now. Thank you.
For sure.
Thanks for staying with us. We hope you enjoyed today's session. As always, remember to consult with your healthcare provider for all the supplements and oils that you use. They're here to be your partner. Remember, your health is our primary focus, and it's important to us. Stay healthy until we see you next time, and we hope to see you soon. Take care. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.
National health. Blame it on the national